Hey YouTube, today I'm going to be discussing how Destiny 2 is a pay-to-win game by comparing it to a more pay-to-win game like Desert Online. Before any of you say I can't compare Destiny 2 to BDO because they're two different games, I'm going to stop you right there. BDO is an MMO grinding PvE game with PvP. Destiny 2 is an FPS PvE game with PvP and PvEVP. They are both a live service game, pay to win, and have MMO aspects, so that is why I'm comparing them to each other. What considers a game pay to win? A game can be considered pay to win when the in-game monetization model allows players to spend in real life money to gain advantages over those who do not. This can negatively impact the overall game experience for players. Several factors contribute whether a game falls under pay to win. Direct power boosts. If spending money grants players direct increases in their in-game power, such as stronger gear, higher stats, or more powerful abilities, it can be a clear indicator of pay to win. Players who spend money gain a direct advantage in gameplay. Destiny 2 season passes can lead to a direct power boost because once you reach level 100 on the season pass, you gain all of the advantage of the XP boost, which can lead to faster power level. Some modes like Trials of Osiris that are power level enabled will mean you'll be at a disadvantage if you are lower than the recommended power level. Finding the best in slot gear in BDO will be a direct power boost because you can use real money to get the gear by selling premium outfits over those who have to farm the in-game money to buy the best in slot gear. Another way a game can be considered pay to win is exclusivity of items. When items or content that directly impacts gameplay are locked behind a paywall, it creates a divide between paying and non-paying players. So exclusive gear, weapons, or abilities that can only be obtained through purchases can lead to an uneven playing field. Destiny 2 expansions will cause exclusivity of items for free-to-play players because they were locked out of Trials of Osiris if they did not purchase the recent expansion. Dungeon keys causes another exclusivity of items because you can play certain dungeons without paying for the key for that dungeon, which would have really great weapons for PvE and PvP. Video premium life skill outfits that could only be purchased with the premium currency could be an exclusivity of items because non-whales couldn't get these life skill items without buying the premium in-game currency, which these outfits gave you increase to XP for that one life skill. The higher the skill in that life skill category, the more likely you are to make more in-game money. Another way a game can be considered a pay to win is advancement acceleration. Advancement acceleration. If the game allows players to skip or expedite time-consuming gameplay elements like leveling, progression, or resource gathering through purchases, it can give paying players a shortcut to success that non-paying players cannot access. Buying level 100 battle pass for all the XP passive boosts is the advancement acceleration in Destiny 2. Because when you start a new season, you have to level up the battle pass. So, when you buy all 100 levels, you can gain more XP faster than other people and get ahead and gather all the artifact unlocks faster. Whaling for best in slot gear would be a way BDO is advancement acceleration. Because if a new player that just started spend a lot of real life money just some premium outfits to sell and use that money for the best in slot gear in under a day, that would be an unfair advantage against players who spent months or even years to get where they are now. Another way a game can be considered pay to win is random chance mechanics. Random chance mechanics. If players can spend money to increase their odds of obtaining rare or powerful items through random chance mechanics, such as loot boxes or gacha systems. It can create an advantage for those who spend more. Regular gacha boxes, event boxes, and seasonal boxes are examples of random chance mechanic in Black Desert Online, because these loot boxes contain materials for upgrading your gear, repairing your gear, and protection from downgrades. So, instead of farming for it, you can buy a bunch of those boxes for a random chance at those materials. Another way a game can be considered pay to win is bypassing skill requirement. Bypassing skill requirement. If spending money enables players to bypass skill-based challenges or gameplay mechanics, it undermines the principle that skill and dedication should be the primary factors in success. For Destiny 2, Stasis and Strand subclasses from their respective expansions were away by passing skill requirements, because Stasis and Strand were kinda overtuned in both PvE and PvP. Like in a Master Raid, one of the hardest content in the game, you can make it a joke by freezing or even suspending all the enemies in that room and making the raid child's play. Another way a game can be pay to win is limited time or exclusive content. Destiny 2 is not pay to win in this aspect yet, but seasonal events offer event cards to see how much more the players are willing to empty their pockets for. Video isn't pay to win in this aspect yet, but when there are special events you either just log in for a set amount of time or find mobs to drop the event items to turn in. Another way a game can be considered pay to win is competitive impact. Competitive impact. When spending directly influences a player's success in a competitive environment such as player versus player PvP battles, it can lead to frustration among those who feel they are at a disadvantage due to their unwillingness or inability to spend money. Destiny 2 expansion, battle passes, trials, and dungeons all have a competitive impact, like how I explained them in the earlier aspects. Pay to winning the best in slot gear for Black Desert Online is a competitive impact because how I explained them in the earlier aspects of pay to win aspects. Another way a game can be pay to win is unequal access. Unequal access. If core gameplay elements or features are locked behind paywalls, such as essential game mechanics, maps, or character classes, it can create a separation between paying and non-paying players. The way Destiny 2 has unequal access is Trials being paid walls. To be able to have access to Trials of Osiris, you must buy the latest expansion to play Trials to get great weapons for PvP and PvE. Another way is cosmetics affecting weapon and armor stats. Even if it's slightly, it is still an advantage over people who do not have that cosmetic for that weapon or armor. As you see the gameplay right now, I'm using Chaperone. It does 152 to the head without the ornament. It does 157 with the ornament. These last two categories, I couldn't find a way how Destiny 2 or Black Desert Online was pay to win in these aspects. But if you do, let me know in the comments down below. Dependency on premium currency. If the most effective or efficient in-game actions require the use of premium currency, which are purchased with real-life money, it can force players to spend money to fully engage with the game. Lack of alternative progression. If the game does not provide reasonable alternatives for non-paying players to achieve similar advantages through gameplay alone, it can lead to a perceived need for spending money to compete. What's the difference between free-to-play and pay-to-win players? Free-to-play players are players who have access to the game without purchasing it, but they are limited on what content they can play. Pay-to-win players are players who use real-life money to gain an advantage over normal or free-to-play players. A free-to-play player does not have access to any of the expansions. They are at a disadvantage over players who have bought some or even all the DLCs. When a new free-to-play player starts D2 for the first time, they will be confused on what to do because the game doesn't really explain it. More than likely, they end up quitting the game because the game doesn't explain what to do in the game or what they can do in the game. But if they persist, they can look for answers by looking at the Destiny 2 community, which is quite widespread. There's Reddit, Twitter, Discords, Bungie forums, video platforms, streaming platforms, and podcasts. Once they will get a feel for the game, they could wind up spending $1,000 or more because of the way the store is set up. For the DLCs, there's a regular version and a deluxe version for each of them. So, they might end up confused on what to buy and just end up buying everything in the store. This doesn't even include seasons, dungeon keys, event cards, or cosmetic items you can get in the Eververse. But even then, when they buy all the expansions and the miscellaneous things, what is it that they spent the money for in the game? Let me ask you, what is the point of a video game? It's either to relieve stress, forget about issues, having fun, or challenges. It's different for every person who gets their hand on a controller, mouse and keyboard, or phone. The goal of a player can have in Destiny 2 is solo challenges, PvP, PvE, fashion, high-end game content, story, loot, level design. It just depends on the player. For example, if a player wanted to do just PvP and were at a disadvantage because they didn't buy an expansion when it released a broken subclass, they feel more inclined to buy that expansion to feel like they were achieving a goal by winning and not being at a disadvantage. For a game to be pay to win, it has to have these in some degree: direct power boosts, exclusivity of items, advancement acceleration, random chance mechanics, bypassing skill requirements, limited time or exclusive content, a competitive impact, unequal access, dependency on premium currency, or a lack of alternative progression. With me showing how Destiny 2 is pay to win in some ways, but comparing it to a more pay to win game like BDO, you cannot deny Destiny 2 isn't pay to win. If you can't see it, you're just blind and don't want to open your eyes to it. If my words had a form, they wouldn't reach you. Standing in the darkness. Typed Kuboom.